中國山王，好鬼酷嗰隻嚟嚇？點喺我手？我最近啱啱東南亞巡迴表演，經過香港，咩目標 ？OK， 開定支票等我 ，OK。好搏啊！我得個揾你。
Hello everybody and welcome to Amphlett Reviews, back with another Hong Kong content review, diving into the last entry for the Heroes and Villains triple pack with Jet Li. This one is called Hitman, which is the final entry here, released in 1998, directed by Stephen Tong Wai, who also did Magic Cop, which is a part of the 88 film release. That's here, which I've yet to get checked out as of yet. Very small director. He's only done about 4 movies. One of them is called Fox Hunter as well, which I'm very curious to check out. So a very limited director. He's only done a handful of movies, doing one of Jet Li's last kind of Hong Kong action films for the US and doing more American-based movies or more big high-budget studio movies, and then eventually going back into more kind of folk tale, more period piece kind of, movies from this point onwards. This film was released in 1998. This is the same year as Lethal Weapon 4, which he played the bad guy in that final entry in the Lethal Weapon series, which I will think I'll talk about in a separate video. But this is a last of his kind of small batch of movies that he was doing during the kind of late 90s before going off to the US. And Hitman, or known as Contract Killer in the US or King of Assassins, there's quite a few titles for this film, is very mixture in its results, kind of ultimate. Hitman stars Jet Li, of course, as the main leading character. We have Eric Sung, which plays the sort of contract kind of, agent, talent agent, which basically takes kind of Jet Li's character under his wing. He plays a much more mellowed out character compared to what he usually just play. He's much more in line of like the internal affairs kind of character, but nowhere near as kind of evil, kind of, corrupt or nasty as he is in those films. This one is a bit more kind of mellowed out, a bit more darker humor, not as over the top or silly compared to the Lucky Star movies, which is always a refreshing change of pace, because I think Aaron Son's a really fantastic actor when he's giving a really good character to kind of dive into and really kind of explore. And this film really does allow him to breathe and give him a lot to do in this film, surprisingly. We also have Simon Yap playing an international kind of, Interpol agent, which is kind of tracking down this killer. The story for Hitman follows basically a Japanese kind of typhoon, multi-millionaire who's basically been assassinated at the start of the film. And he says to the kind of this kind of Hitman, this legendary kind of king of assassins, whatever you want to say, blazing kind of angel as the kind of nickname as the film is called. Basically, if you kill me, then there will be like $100 million US kind of fund to basically track you down and kill you. And that's the kind of the opening nature of the film. This kind of Japanese character gets killed, and you got all these different kind of assassins that basically want to track down who Blazing Angel is, who this legendary assassin is. And the film is very misleading, and that does tend to happen quite a lot with a lot of Hong Kong movies, and this one unfortunately is no exception. But saying that, I still actually really enjoyed the film. I don't know quite why. As mentioned, it's a bit kind of puzzling. It's a bit, mixture of results in terms of how this film is kind of presented and put together, and there's a lot of things that really go against it in terms of how a structure of a film should be put together, especially when the title is called Hitman or Contract Killer. And I understand films have to have a lot of downtime. There is need to be a lot of character development, and you have to invest in your characters to care what happens to them later when they're put in kind of more danger or kind of tension-filled kind of moments. The film surprisingly doesn't go for the cheap moves. A lot of the kind of ones that define, a lot of the ones I do talk about on the channel, which kind of is very, very irritating when they dive more into melodrama, over top kind of, speeches, people act like children essentially, or a scene goes on for way too long than it needs to be. I found a lot of this within a lot of inline duty movies, where the film comes to a complete halt, gives you a brilliant action moment or a scenes of moments, and then the film really dives into one kind of specific aspect and drags and stretches it for long periods of time. This one, it flows pretty smoothly, despite the fact that the film is advertising this action thriller kind of, extraordinaire kind of Jet Li kicking ass. And it's not really that. It does offer some of that in the film, in this hour and 45-minute film. The main film is a slow burn, character-driven thriller that happens to feature some action moments in it, and that is the honest truth of what this film is. And despite a lot of the film taking that risk and really kind of diving into a lot of these characters, I did actually find it quite entertaining. Would I would say it's a great film? Would I say it's a Jet Li highlight? No, I would say it's probably the weakest of the trilogy pack. I actually found the second film a lot more interesting. It was obviously a bit more of a bigger swing, as mentioned in that review. This film, it's a bit more generic in terms of an action thriller. It's some of the reveals and some of the kind of ideas don't always come through well, but it's got a good intention. It's a really good effort, and I think it's really well made as well. It's not made like a traditional, typical Hong Kong movie. It's more kind of, Western inspired kind of thing. It actually has a narrative. It actually feels like I care about these characters and I want to take them on a journey. Whether that journey is for you as an audience member interesting enough is down to you. There are a lot of supporting characters in the film. You got there are a lot of characters in the film as well. A lot of kind of, got the Japanese kind of, grandson, which also wants to track down who Blazing Angel is, who wants that kind of prize money. And you've got a lot of deceiving characters, and you've got a lot of sub-stories as well. Aaron's son gets a really big piece of the story with, being this kind of talent agent, this kind of scouting, takes Jet Li's character under his wing. And, there's some reveals that happen throughout his character, and especially with his daughter, and that plays into kind of some of the drama. Jet Li's character is not playing his usual kind of, action hero stigma that he usually does. He's playing a character which is covered to the mainland. He's very poor. He's someone who's wants to get one big score, one job, and he's someone who used to serve in the kind of the military, so he does have that kind of martial arts kind of action kind of background, and he does have the agility to kind of do it. And when we do get those action moments throughout the film, which unfortunately is very sparing, I'd say there's about 3 or 4 action moments. Only 2 of them I would say are really with Jet Li. It's a bit disappointing, I know, but when you do get them, they're pretty goddamn fun, and it's really well handled in terms of action moments, considering it's a director which is not hugely established. He is known for doing action and different types of genre, but considering almost an hour into the film, you get your first proper Jet Li fight, and again, that can be quite disappointing to hear, but it is the honest truth of what happens in the film. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it ultimately. I think if I had this as an individual release, I probably would have sold it. Being the fact it's part of a trilogy pack, I'm more likely to revisit it again and maybe check out that international version. I do think it's the weakest of the trilogy pack. I think The Enforcer is absolutely my favorite, and then going through Dr. Wong and The Scripture of No Words is quite unique, kind of a different kind of film that I don't usually would see Jet Li take on, or any kind of Hong Kong movie really doing, essentially. So a bit more of a swing and a miss on that one. Some things work, some things don't. And Hitman, I think it's the same again. Yet again, you've got a director which is not really high profile. You've got Jet Li that is being used appropriately, but not to his full advantage, but still surprisingly entertaining. You've got good performances overall. Eric Sun does a really fantastic job. Simon Yap is used appropriately well, especially towards the second, third act of the film. Great concept, despite the fact the film, could be a complete disaster with this, Hitman idea, and then goes in a different direction with this kind of character-driven drama. I found myself fully entertained from start to finish, and that's saying something, I think, in terms of these kind of movies for sure. So what are your thoughts and opinions on this trilogy pack, guys? What are your thoughts and opinions on Hitman? Please comment down below. So meantime, guys, I'm for reviews. Signing out.